Good afternoon. Today is the 20th of September and it's time for another very vague, very boring and probably not very interesting vlog. I know some of you quite like watching these, some of you don't, I'm afraid. If you don't like watching this sort of thing, then you can always just skip this video and you won't be any other wiser, will you? So today's subject is actually just trying to sum up everything that's happened in the last few days, which is the adventure to the Isle of Wight that just came back from yesterday, and also a bit about the funeral of Queen Elizabeth. As a lot of you know, you would have seen some of the coverage either just in the last couple of days if you are a channel member on the set to Lloyd tier and above, or a few weeks ago if you are just a normal viewer. Please don't feel you have to become a channel member. It's just really for those who feel they want to support the channel in another way. It's really not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you watch the videos through, and you know, it'd be nice if you could subscribe as well, because that really sort of shows YouTube that you know, the videos are worth watching. So we came back yesterday from the place where we were staying next to Sandown Airport, and it was very, very, very quiet on the road. Really, really quiet. Quieter than I think I could ever imagine it being. And that was because some of the journey actually was during the first little part of the funeral. We actually had to wait at a pub in East Cowes for the departure time that we had, and so we found somewhere, a little place at a marina, which was very nice, and it was just a very sort of subdued occasion. I think you know, the viewing figures on that particular programme would have been huge for virtually any channel. I know Sky were doing it, BBC, I think ITV maybe, and just being there in that sort of very solemn atmosphere, I think it's the first time I've ever whispered in a pub because I needed to keep my voice down. You don't normally have to do that, and it was quite a conclusion to the week. We had to leave the accommodation by 11 o'clock in the morning, and so, you know, we spent the first bit of it with my lady wife actually using her phone to you know, watch it whilst I drove. So we did see you know, virtually all of it, and it was just an amazing occasion in so many ways. Proper once in a lifetime stuff. It's funny to think that there are actually relatively few people in this country who have known any other monarch before Queen Elizabeth. My mother's obviously one of them. She was born just about 3 years before the Queen came to the throne. But there's actually relatively few people who remember anyone else. And the amount of stuff that's happened in that time is just absolutely ridiculous. Some of the things we even saw there, we had Queen being carried on a gun carriage from Westminster Abbey to a place in Hyde Park, which was transferred to a hearse to be taken to St George's of Windsor. Obviously many of you have probably been to St George's Chapel in Windsor. I have. It's an amazing place in itself. Actually, it's well worth going just to see it actually. But I've heard actually that the hearse was specially commissioned for her. She had that designed a few years ago. I think it was around 2018. It was when the LXI was starting to wind up production, which I think happened in 2020 eventually. Unfortunately, I've also heard that because of the fact that the petrol XJs don't have a gearbox that allows the car to be driven at very, very low speed easily, it's actually got an engine we can't talk about in it. It's a bit of a shame because you know, obviously as it drove along with special bodywork and no plates, because you don't need plates if you're the the Queen and it's your funeral. You don't need plates on your vehicle. It was quite a moment. Also, we saw the Bentley State Limousine that I've seen in person. Not a massive fan of that. I prefer the Rolls-Royce Phantom 6 that they also had. Both of those obviously very heavily sort of plated against bombs and guns and all sorts of things. Lloyd Vehicle Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below. So yes, quite an occasion on television around the world. I think it was probably maybe one of the most watched broadcasts in modern history. Certainly, viewing figures have gone down just to all types of broadcast television recently, and I think I'm one of the people who's to blame for that, or rather, anyone who has a YouTube channel, particularly the larger ones, much larger than me, of course, are to blame for that. But you can actually watch it streaming from YouTube. And my lady wife did watch a funeral from, I think it was a Sky YouTube channel actually, because it was across so many channels. So that was interesting. I just don't think we are ever going to see anything like that. And again, you know, Prince Charles himself, I think he's 75, and you know, he's probably just not going to have a reign that's as long at all. And goodness knows what will have happened, and you know, even in the relatively short reign that he'll have. We're in a time of such amazing change. Some of the change is good, some of it's not so good. But it is just an amazing sort of solemn moment to see. Actually, again, we have various cars represented. One of them's a 2020 Bentley, that I saw in a cortege. The State Limousine, it's not my favourite. And the old Phantom 6, I mean, maybe it's till 1990. 1990. And it's the ultimate sort of state dignitary's car of the 20th century. Just amazing, really. And back to sort of much more mundane matters here. I mean, I made a lot of videos on the Isle of Wight. 3 of them have gone up to somewhat of a muted response. It doesn't really matter particularly in that sort of way. Some people like that kind of thing. Some people don't. It's like anything on YouTube. There's an audience for some things, and there's an audience for other things, and that's the way that it goes. And I hope that, particularly the last video that I made, which is totally sort of unexpected, really, and you know, I just happened to come somewhere and find that there were some interesting cars where I was, and you know, my lady wife said that I should make a video, and so I did. I hope you'll enjoy that. Yeah, so I don't really want to say much more than I've already said about the general sort of minis and the one that I drove, things like that. That's very, very well documented, probably ad nauseam actually, in videos that have so far gone live and will go live. So no particular need to sort of cover any more ground than that. Because you know, some of you, that will be the most fascinating thing. You like, you know, things like classic minis and all that sort of thing. You know, you're fond of those kind of cars. Some of you, you know, you're not sort of bothered. It's not something that really fusses you. I'm sort of in the middle about them, really. They're not like the absolute favourite cars I've ever driven. I prefer, I think, probably a Metro to one of those, not necessarily because of the character of it, but because of the fact that Metros are just a little bit more spacious. They are a bit sort of more practical, they're more comfortable, and they don't tend to give me such cramp in my right leg, which is what the old classic Mini I was driving was doing. And despite the fact that it has very comfortable seats in it, they are the most comfortable seats probably that you can fit to a classic Mini, from what I understand. And Mr. Pink, who owns it, who's had like tons and tons of classic Minis. I enjoyed it, but the Isle of Wight was the ideal location to drive one, and I don't know if I'll be invited to go back next year. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, I don't know. If that's something that you'd perhaps like to see in the future, then by all means mention it in the comment section below. Anyway, I think that's quite enough for now. I don't really know what I've been talking about. It's the thing about very vague vlogs, often they are rambling and stupid, and that's just the way that it is. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed once again, and we will see you again for more just absolutely and utterly incoherent musing.